Hello guys, welcome to DevOps training, and today we are going to see what is Git and what is its requirement. Okay, so let's move to the very first thing. So first thing we are going to see and we are going to discuss the need of version control system. So guys, in last tutorials we have already discussed what is version control systems. So basically version control systems are the systems which will uh, uh, define a particular version of your files, of your test codes, of your images, of anything, of your data. We can say if you have some data and information and you are adding something in continuously in that particular information or data, then definitely you can divide that particular thing inside the versions. So let's see what is the problem. So suppose here in this computer machine, you are sitting on your computer and you're designing some kind of documents. Okay, and after your completion, you have completed your final document. Okay, and after your final document, you are going to your boss to review it. Okay, then on the basis of the review comment, you have modified some information inside the document and created another document, name it final underscore rev.2doc. Then again come to your boss, he will provide some review comments, and again you are creating a document and name is become final underscore rev8 comment something and something this. Okay, again you provide your boss, put some comments over there, added some additional information over there, and finally you end up like this, finally rev something something and something and something and something dot dot. So definitely at this stage you will hook your head with your computer. Okay, so to avoid this kind of situations we use version control system. Okay, so we clearly define the versions of our document or of information or the data which we have regarding some kind of work. So let's see how version control system works and make the software developer and the software engineer's life easy. So now next what we are going to see, we will see what we will get from the version control systems. Okay, so some of the major benefits of using version control systems or version control file systems are like save you from creating multiple backups of your files. Okay, in the previous picture we have already seen, we have created a document, then come to my boss, he has provided some kind of review comments, then I come to my desk, edit that particular document, then again come to my boss, then he will provide some other documents, sorry, review comments, then again come to my desk. Either there could be two ways, either you will create backup of every single of uh, document in your desktop. Okay, this is the final, this final 1, final 2, final 3, final 4 and final 5. Either you can amend the main file again and again and again, and obviously if you are doing this, then at end you will get you will not get some meaningful information because you have done a lot of amendment, and if you want to find out something which you have done earlier, then definitely it will be a problem for you. So using the version control systems, if we will use the version control system, then it saves us to creating multiple backups of my files. Okay, same on the similar way, version control systems allows multiple people to work on the same file. Okay, in that way, if you have a member of 15 members team, then definitely and 14 of them are working on the final documentation of your project, then in sync you all guys can work on a single document. Okay, you all guys can work on a same file if you are using the version control system. Okay, version control system tracks the changes and also who have made those changes. Suppose I have a code file in my project and I have written some kind of business logic over there and pushed it on the Go server. Then tomorrow some of my friends pushed some another business logic, okay, and committed the code. And definitely after this code, the complete system got crashed. Okay, or we are getting some serious bugs inside the systems. So using this way, we can track the changes as well. Okay, what changes you have done and what your friends have done or what your colleague have done. Okay, and the name of the people or the ID of the people associated with the account who has made the changes and pushed on the server on the version control systems. Okay, so this is the another way how version control systems help us in our day-to-day software engineering life. Okay, now easy to switch back older versions as when required. We have already discussed this thing in the Facebook example in which we was we was discussing the dark launching technique. Okay, if we are releasing the product inside the market and the current build which is working in the market is 1.0.1. Okay, and we have done and pushed some new features and removed some older bugs and pushed the new release in the market which is 1.0.2, but after the new release I am getting some serious bugs inside my system. Okay, In that case, I can easily switch over to the older version which was stable. I can completely remove the newer version from the market and switch my user base to the older version without informing them, okay, I'm doing this. Okay, and obviously, if I'm getting these much of benefits from the version control system, then this will improve my productivity. Okay, this will improve my productivity. I will more focus, I will be more scalable, and you can say you will do a more research about the things how you can perform your task. Although in the management of the files or the management of the source code, the time which you have invested inside your source code management and file management, you will definitely get that time and put that particular time inside to improve your productivity and code wisely. Okay, so these are the benefits, guys, which we are doing, which we are getting from the version control systems. We are using version control system in our software engineering. Now we will see about the Git. Basically, Git is a version control system. Okay, so version control is the management of the changes of the document. You can see we have already discussed about it. Okay, and something the computer programs, large websites, and the collection of the information. Obviously, we can version anything what we have. So simply in simple words, we can version the information, we can version the data. That's it. Now, version control system again divide in two categories. The first one is the centralized version control system, and the second one is the distributed version control system. So guys, let me clear. Git is a distributed version control system which have their own benefits, and currently I'm using Git since last 7 to 6 to 7 years, and definitely I'm fall in love with Git because it's so easy and it's so useful. Okay, I use some other version control systems as well, but definitely Git is best. So that we are going to see and we are going to discuss what are the centralized version control systems and what are the distributed version control systems. So let's move to the centralized version control system. So guys, in this particular picture, you can see here we have a central repository which we call server. Okay, this is the central repository, and here we have like this is me, this is you, and this is our third colleague. Okay, so I'm working from my computer from my workplace, you're working from your computer from your workplace, and my friend is working from, and your colleague is working from their from his computer or her computer from their workplace. Now, in this particular system, you can see the centralized version control system uses a central server to store all the files. So it means all the files which we need to implement, which we need to configure, will be placed over here. Okay, the all the files which we have, the all data, there could be source file, there could be resources, there could be photos, applications, code, anything which is required or which is on the basis of the file which files your project is completely dependent, all files will be lie in this particular centralized server. Okay, it works on a single repository which users can directly access a central service. So here we have a central repository. I am already accessing it, you are accessing it, and the third person is accessing the same repository. Okay, central server could be local or remote machine. Okay, directly connect to each of the programmer's workstation. It means this particular machine could be a server, okay, which will is situated in US, in UK, in India, in Japan, in Europe somewhere. Okay, in other words, it can be or it could be the simple machine, the simple programmer machine. Okay, and we can connect it remotely. Okay, now the problem with this particular system. So in the first glance, it seems fine, it seems perfect. Okay, this is the central repository, this is me, I am doing my work. Okay, I will commit my changes and get the updated code. This is you will commit your changes and get the updated code. This is some third person, he will commit his change and get the updated code. But there is an issue. So let's discuss the issue and the drawbacks of the centralized version systems. So centralized repository is not a locally available. It means to access this particular central repository server, we need the connectivity, we need the internet. Okay, we need this particular server should be up all the time. Okay, so if there is a connection breakdown, okay, if there is a no connection, like your internet is down or this particular server is down, then in that case none of the people in my company would be able to access this centralized repository system. It means if I'm working a company of 500 people and 500 particular peoples are using the same centralized repository, and for their for their in their company, obviously these are very obvious things, the network outage and other things as well. Okay, and in that particular company, suppose there is a 6 hours network outage. Okay, My IT team is implementing some kind of firewall, they are implementing some kind of security patches, and there is a 6 hours of network outage. In that case, all the 500 people who is working on that particular project and have their centralized repository will do not will can't do anything in that particular 6 hours. They can't access the centralized repository, they can't put anything on that centralized repository. So it means all 500 resource would be ideal or would be idle for 6 hours, and that will be a very huge cost for any company. Okay guys, now since everything is centralized, okay, we have everything on the centralized server. In case of any central server getting crashed or corrupted, which result in losing the entire data of the project. It means if we have everything over here and in some circumstances the hard disk of this particular server or the CPU of this particular server got crashed, okay, it has been destroyed, okay, or it's you can see formatted by itself, then it means the work what me and my people have done so far is being ruined. There's no work available on the centralized repository what we have done so far. In that case, in that particular case, we will lose everything what we have done, everything from a company have done so far will be lost. Okay, so these are the major drawbacks of the centralized version control system, and definitely this is a very serious drawback of the particular centralized version control systems. Now let's see what is the solution of this. The solution of this problem is the distributed version control system. So distributed version control system, here we have some server or repository, okay, on which the pull and push command will work. Pull and push means pull the latest code and push your changes. Pull the latest code, push your changes. Pull the latest code, push your changes. And here is something which is called your local repository. Okay, every developer or every people who is working on a particular server and using who are working on a particular project and using distributed version control system for versioning of their product, then they have their local repository as well. Apart from the centralized repository, they have their local repository as well. Okay, so here is the working copy of my code. I will commit my change, get the update. I will commit my you will commit your change, get the update. The third person will commit the change, get the update. So here's the central repository or the local repository for me. This is the local repository for you. This is the local repository for the third one. Okay, and these local repositories will be synced with this particular centralized server. Will be this particular central repository. Now let's see how it works. So we have seen, now this is the picture. You can see this is a pretty there's a one more layer being inserted over here between me and centralized repository. There is one layer more, one more layer, which is called local repository in the distributed version control system. Okay, so in distributed VCS, every contributor has a local repository or clone of the main repository. So this repository is basically clone of this repository is basically clone of this is basically clone of this. Okay, developer can update their local repository from the new data, okay, from the central server by the operation called pull. Using the pull operation, using this particular pull, you can get the updates from the server which have been pushed by other members of the team. Okay, so to sync your repository with the central repository, you just need to pull the changes inside your local repository. Okay, let me show you. I have a source tree installed inside my machine. So although please don't mind if you're getting some information of particular project, any particular project. Okay, so suppose I have some project automation framework. Okay, so if okay, I have some project a smoke test. Just let me open it. So you can see here on the pull, this is the GUI of source tree. Okay, we will discuss it about later. So here is a pull, and on the pull I'm getting some count, which is 43. It means on the server, my local repository of smoke test is not in sync with the local with the centralized repository of the smoke test. On the centralized repository, I have 43 updates, which is not is still present inside my local repository. So in using this way, you will get the pull request. It means I need to get this particular smoke test in sync with the centralized repository. I need to pull all these changes. I need to pull all these changes from the server. Okay, guys. Let me close it. So using the pull command, I can get the replica, or I can get the changes which are present on the server and missing on my machine. Okay, so that I can sync my local repository with the central repository. Okay, affect changes to the main repository by the operation called push. If I have some changes, okay, I'm a developer, you are a developer, and we are working on a project. So I have done and written down some code today, and now I will push the changes on my local repository. Okay, but this code is not is still finalized, so I'm not going to commit it. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not going to push it on the centralized repository today. Tomorrow I will come again and test my code what I have in my local repository. If after the complete testing I can push my changes on the centralized server, it means I can, if I'm adding something in my repository, so I can add that particular thing to the centralized repository as well. Okay, so there's two most important operation, pull and push. For the internet connection or for the network connectivity, this is the layer, this is the layer where we are doing push and pull. This is the layer where we need the internet connectivity. Okay, the problem with the centralized repository system, if there is any network outage, then the all people would be idle because they would not be able to do anything. This particular problem is resolved here. This is the third layer. This is the second layer being inserted over here. So if this particular connectivity is not present, I'm not able to pull and push the changes. Then I have the replica of the centralized repository inside my in my local machine, so I can use that. I can commit my changes and use my changes. When the connectivity will be restored, I can completely push my changes on the server and get the complete pull requests. So guys, distributed version system means I have distributed the server repository between the developers or between the users. This is again a replica of this. This is the replica of this. This is the replica of this. This is also sorting out our second problem. In any case, this particular server is being crashed. Don't worry, if it's crashed, that's fine. I have the replica of that particular repository in every computer or in every user's computer. Okay, each user of this particular repository is containing the replica of this particular repository, so they can push their changes and make a new centralized server. Right? Advantage of the distributed VCS. All operations are very fast because tools need to access the hard drive only. That's the thing. This is my local repository. So the operation, all operation which I want to perform will be very fast. Okay. Committing new changes set can be done locally without manipulating the data on the main repository. Definitely, if I am committing something, then it is being changed inside my local repository, which will be in sync with the centralized repository in later. But right now, I am doing something or I'm committing something inside my local repository. If I'm getting some issue, then I can resolve it. But in this case of centralized version system, this is not possible. Okay. If the centralized server get crashed at any point of time, okay, lost data can be easily recovered from any of the computer, any of the contributors local repository like this. If this will crash, okay, I will recover this from here, I will recover this from here or from here. That's not a big deal. Okay. Now guys, the last thing is what is Git. So initially, Git is being developed by the Linus Torvald. This is the guy who developed the Linux as well. Okay, so Git is being developed by the Linus Torvald. Okay, so this is the genius, and I'm a fan of this guy. Okay, and Git is a distributed version control system. We have seen two kind of version control system. The first one was the centralized version control system, and second one was the distributed version control system. So Git is the second type. Git is a centralized version control system, and the design philosophy is Git. First is a free and open source. It means Git is an open source tool which is available free on the internet, so you can directly download it and use it. There is no license required to use Git. Third is blazingly fast. We have already seen in the distributed version control system the copy of the replica of a centralized repository lie inside the local repository of a contributor. So definitely it will be fast than the centralized repository. Okay. And third one is distributed. We have already seen Git is a distributed. What is the mean of distributed? In the distributed version control system, the copy of the centralized repository will be distributed between the employee or between the contributors. Okay. And the data assurance. Data assurance, I mean to say the data integrity. Okay. Data integrity means the your local repository will be synced with the centralized repository. We have already seen I didn't get the pull request since 2 or 3 days, so I'm getting all the changes over here over here. Okay, and my tool is notifying me, okay, you have 43 updates required to do. You have 43 pull to you have 43 changes to pull from the centralized repository. Okay, so Git can ensure the data integrity, the data assurance. So that's all guys, that's all for today, and we have discussed a lot of things like the version control system, the requirement of the version control system, the uses of the version control system, the centralized version control system, the distributed version control system, and about the Git. In the coming tutorial we will see how we can install the Git and use it in our local machines. So thank you guys, thanks for your time.